I just got back from Tokyo and it was incredible, but I made so many mistakes. So I'm gonna share everything that I wish I would have known ahead of time with you today. We're gonna cover a ton, gonna give you some logistical things that are just gonna make it so much easier, cultural things to know about, food recommendations, overrated and underrated spots, where to stay. We're gonna basically cover it all, so stick with me. So first mistake that I think a lot of tourists make, and I'm probably guilty of this myself, don't try to do it all. You're not going to be able to cover even a fraction of this place. This place is massive. It's incredible, but you can create whatever experience you want. So just don't feel like you have to follow anybody else's guide. So just take things slow. Ask yourself, what is it that I really want to experience in Tokyo? What do I want to get out of this trip? And then plan accordingly. And obviously, I'll help you with some of that in just a minute. But another mistake that I think I was probably misled online about is, hey, you're going to need a ton of cash. I don't actually think that's true. I pulled out about $70 worth of yen at the beginning of my trip. I left with like $30 left over. You're totally fine using your credit card, debit card, tap to pay, whatever you got. You do not need as much as you think. Now, obviously, this is not the place that you need to be worried about renting a car or taking Ubers. This is such a walkable city and the public transit is incredible, and you probably already know that. So a couple logistics that I think will really help you in your experience. One is you don't need to be buying a metro ticket every single time that you're going to be using a metro. Instead, you can use something like a Suica card, and there are a bunch of other versions of this. I had a good experience with Suica, so I'll show you how that works. Basically, before your trip, if you have an iPhone or an Android, you have that digital wallet, right? You can go in and you can actually just download this card as a transit pass, preload it, and you'll be able to use it everywhere. Really just think of it as a preloaded card that you can use in a ton of different places, and it's just gonna make your life a lot easier. Now, a couple of things that might trip you up and did trip me up. When I first installed my card and tried loading it, you can just use your Apple Pay or Google Wallet to transfer funds to the Suica card. But where I ran into an issue was saying, hey, I'm trying to preload money, and oh wait, it wasn't working. What was going on? Turns out between like 2 and 4 a.m. Tokyo time, the system goes down each night, and turns out it was right in that window because middle of the day in the US is middle of the night in Tokyo. So just be aware of that. If it's not working, it's probably a timing issue. Now, when using the public transit, I found that Google Maps was by far the most reliable to actually figure out like, hey, what are my connection points going to be? Where are the trains going to be and at what time? But pay attention to on the Google Maps, it will show you which cart you should actually put yourself in for quick transfers. So keep that in mind. Now, one other thing to be on the lookout for, because I definitely screwed up here. Sarah and I had one of those quick transfers. We get into the cart. We're like, yes, we did it. Look at us. We're getting the hang of things.
Arigato.
I look around and I say, wait, something's not right. Weird, I'm the only guy in this cart. That's just strange, right? Oh, turns out there are women-only carts on the metro, so if you're a guy, just make sure that you respect those rules and don't end up on that cart because you don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. Love that they have that system, but I just didn't know to be on the lookout for it, so now you do. Now, something that I feel like is really important to emphasize is don't feel overwhelmed by the public transit. You are going to feel overwhelmed, just don't let that get to you, because note that these places are just different. They're really big. Some of the stations, like Shibuya, it's just massive. It's going to be unlike anything you've ever experienced. So it's just going to take some learning to get used to it. And I got full confidence in you to be able to figure it out. So just give yourself a breather and relax, take it all in. It's a part of the Tokyo experience. Now, one other really important thing that did make the public transit and just navigation so much easier for me was obviously I don't live in Japan, so my phone does not work over there. So I used an app called Airalo. It's an eSIM, and if you're new to the eSIM world, it's okay. I know it's confusing at first, but I know it like the back of my hand because, well, I move to a new country every single month, so I'm constantly using these things. Basically, it's a way to pre-purchase cellular data. So you can do this while you're in your home country before you ever step foot in Japan. That way, when you land, hey, your phone just works. Gives you that internet access to use Google Maps and to navigate everything. It's just a breeze. So if you do want to look into something like that, do note I have an affiliate link down below, or you can scan the QR code. Hopefully that just makes your travel a little bit easier. But let's talk about some cultural things because, I made some mistakes. I'm somebody who likes to try a bunch of different food spots, grab things on the go, take quick things. Basically, I always have trash on my hands. The Problem in Tokyo is there's not a lot of trash cans like anywhere. Locals will actually carry some of their trash home. You're just not gonna find many trash cans on the streets. That's part of what leads to this country being incredibly clean. So just don't be that tourist who's caught off guard and you're saying, hey, what the heck do I do with this trash? Just carry it, wait till you get to your next destination and use a trash can there. Now, another big mistake that a lot of tourists make is you'll notice that there are a lot of escalators. Remember how we said things move really, really quickly here? Well, it's important to respect that local culture of saying, hey, if you're on an escalator and you're not in that hurry, take a step to the left-hand side, leave that whole right-hand lane open so people who are in a rush can get up and down the escalators quick. You'll get some people who are pretty frustrated with you if you are taking up that right side and just blocking it, so be aware of that. Too many tourists make that mistake. Now, another thing that I see tourists make a big mistake with is when you're on the public transit, there's a huge part of the culture that is just about being quiet and respectful. And also note that culturally, one of the things that is so cool is because everything is built up and because it's just such a densely populated space, it is so magical to just take a walk at night. Everywhere is incredibly safe, but it's so special just walking through a local area of town and using your ears and your nose and just taking everything around you. You'll hear people, just going about their daily lives, and it's just going to be so different than anything you've experienced. So I really encourage those nighttime walks. Now, I'm going to give you a couple very specific high-level food recommendations, but if you want all my recs, you can download them in this guide. It's completely free. I hope it helps you on your trip, but let's go over some of the top spots and just a couple food recommendations. Also, it's really important to note that it's really important to make reservations. A lot of the restaurants here are much smaller. They just don't have big capacity like places in the US or other spots around the world. So there are very few tables, very few seats. Now, if you're wondering, hey, how do I make those reservations? There's an app, I think it's called Tabelog, and basically think of this as a review system app where you can also go and make reservations. Anything over like a 3.5 is going to be pretty dang good. 4.0 is going to be like pretty incredible. It's going to be like top tier. 5 would just be unheard of. Now for the specific recommendations, my number one coffee shop, this one's cliche. It's called Glitch Coffee. They've got a couple locations and oh my gosh, these guys just know what they're doing. They take coffee to a different level. Do not expect to pop in for a quick coffee. This is a coffee experience. If you're a coffee nerd like me, this is your spot. Now, if you're looking for a great atmosphere and still good cup of coffee, there's a spot called Onibus, and it's just exceptional. This location that I have pinned in my guide, it's awesome. You can like overlook the train line. It's in this really scenic building. It's just cozy, peaceful. It's well worth your time and you'll enjoy it. And because I am that coffee nerd, I can't leave you with only two. I'm gonna give you a third, and the third one is Acid Coffee. This is a tremendous spot if you want to try unique coffees. They've got such a wide variety and it really feels like they're just getting deep into the weeds, the science of coffee. It's really special, really cool. I'd highly recommend that as well. But that's enough for coffee recommendations. For food, you're obviously going to have a great bowl of ramen. And there might not be a better place than Soba House. This place at one point had a Michelin star. It is still incredible. It is that local, tiny, just like authentic feel that I seek out. Now, if you're looking for a unique sushi experience, there is a spot called Tachigui Sushi, and it was fantastic. Really intimate setting. It's so cool. You get to watch the chefs like right in front of you, only a couple seats. It is a bit pricey, but fresh quality. It was everything that I was looking for. And it's also not like one of those crazy Michelin places where you need to be dressed up and have a long meal. No, like it is pretty quick and informal atmosphere, so it's well worth your time. Now, my favorite dessert place, and possibly my new favorite dessert in the entire world, is from a place called Azuki Tokoro. Holy cow, this place was just doing something. It's just shaved ice. You wouldn't think that that's special, but it was. I really love this place. They also have like the bean paste French toast, also really good. That was what Sarah preferred. And the last food recommendation spot I'll give to you, if you're looking for a fancy place and just a cool bar, Virtue. This is one of the top bars in the world, and no, that's not just coming from me, like it is actually on the top 100 list. It's at the top of a hotel. It's super fancy. Nothing's gonna be cheap here, but really quality drinks, excellent service, beautiful view of Tokyo. You're not gonna be disappointed for a special occasion if you go there. It's well worth your time. Now, let's get into some of the overrated and underrated places, and I'll give you some context on each of these. So first spot is Sensoji, and this is a gorgeous Buddhist temple. It's one of the most popular ones in the city, and for good reason. It is beautiful. I'm gonna put it as slightly overrated only because it's just swarming with tourists, and there are these food stalls and just everything there caters to the tourists. It doesn't seem like a place where locals are hanging out. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, locals, but it just doesn't feel like that place where you're getting that authentic experience. Really cool to go and see, just don't plan your whole day around it. Next spot is Ueno Park, and everybody talks about Ueno Park. It is beautiful, but again, really seems to cater to the tourists. A lot of the museums, you got the zoo, you got the boats out there. It's totally fine. I just think you can do better, and I'll give you some of those spots later on, but don't let that deter you from going and checking out that area. Next spot that could be viewed as overrated is Shibuya Sky. And this is one of those spots that you just get unbelievable views of the entire city. You're up at the top of a skyscraper. It is gorgeous. The scenery up there is spectacular. Now, I'll give them this. It is very well curated. It is just curated for the tourists. So you just have to ask yourself, are you up for an experience with lots of people, long lines? It's just a tourist experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. One thing that does trip some people up, and it did happen to me as well, their official website would not accept my US debit or credit card. And the fix to that was using an app or platform called Klook. This is a reputable app. I've used it all over the world, mostly in Asia when you have those payment processing issues, and it always seems to do the trick. Also use this for Disney Sea in Tokyo if that's important to you as well. So have that context. But otherwise, Shibuya Sky is great if you're comfortable with the tourists. Now, one other thing with Shibuya Sky is when you go up to the top and you're like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I want to go get pictures. Everybody like lines up at this one spot. It's like the corner. You can go do that, go for it. But if you just go inside, like you're pretty much just as high up and there's no lines and you're not getting beat by the wind or roasting in the heat if it's in the summer or getting rained on. So don't be afraid to just walk inside where the tourists for some reason just don't go. But the next place is the Shibuya Scramble, or the #1 busiest crosswalk in the entire world. I think it's something like over 1 million people use it each day. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen. It's crazy. It is an experience. It was definitely something cool to check out. Have the context that this whole area of Shibuya, it's nutty. You are going to see more people there than you will have ever seen in your life in all likelihood. So just be prepared for that. Next up are the Imperial Palace East National Gardens. Wow, that is a mouthful, isn't it? They're beautiful, stunning place. Just note again, heavy spot for tourism. So a lot of people are going to be going there for pictures. It is a gorgeous spot. It is worth your time, but I've got a couple parks coming up later that might be more up your alley if you're looking for a more local experience, but don't let that deter you from checking that place out. It really is pretty. Now, if you're into nightlife and you're a tourist, you've probably come across Piss Alley. Now, I know the name might be a bit off-putting. It's definitely a tourist hotspot, and it is really cool to go and see, particularly at night. That's just when the vibes are highest, I guess. Think of like old town Tokyo feel where you just have dimly lit places, small little spots where you're going to get, food, and everything is just so compact. Like it's what most people put in pictures when they think of Tokyo, and it's not representative of the greater city itself. It's just a cool little historic area. It is worth seeing, but again, if you're not into big crowds of tourists and just tightly packed spaces, it might not be your place. Another one is Golden Gai, and that's in a very similar area. All of this is in Shinjuku, which we'll get to in a minute. Basically think of Golden Gai as the Piss Alley equivalent, but instead of food, think of it as bars. Again, super cute, charming, but packed with tourists. Cool experience, really neat to go and see. I'm not a huge drinker myself, but hey, you can decide on what you want to do there. It was really cool to see. Now, these next two, I'm going to say are definitely overrated, and I'll explain why. These are two areas. The first is Shimokitazawa. This often gets pegged as a place that is just like really local, vintage shopping, young and hip, and it is all of those things. I'm saying it's overrated because it definitely caters to the Westerner. Not saying that there aren't people who live in Tokyo that go and enjoy the spot, but it mostly felt like it was other people from the US, from Canada, from Europe going and checking those out because it just ends up on everybody's list. So just don't be fooled by that. It is really cool to go and see, but I wouldn't plan a full day over there unless you just really value vintage shopping. But you're mostly going to find like US college shirts and sweatshirts there, which is kind of weird and funny to think about. And the last really overrated spot in my mind is Ginza. And this is an area of town, and it is really popular, and I totally understand why. High-end shopping, everything is very big and bold, but it's just the least unique to me. I didn't feel like it offered anything that was like uniquely Japan or uniquely Tokyo. It just felt like the big shopping center area that you can find in pretty much any city around the world. So not deterring you to go there, just have that context of, I think there are much more unique places that you can go. Now let's talk about some of those underrated places, some of those park alternatives. The first is Todoroki Ravine Park. And this one will require a little bit more effort, but the metro will get you there. It's a piece of cake. Just beautiful. Feels like you've been transported out of the hectic city of Tokyo and into just a nature oasis. It is just beautiful. It is stunning. You got a gorgeous river, a little like temple. It was really just a breath of fresh air after all the hecticness of Tokyo. Probably great to plan on your trip like a few days in once you need one of those breathers. Just a peaceful, really local area, and I'd highly recommend it. The next is Yoyogi Park, and this one is much more central to where you'll likely be staying. This is just a beautiful park. It doesn't get as much hype as Ueno Park. It doesn't have that tourism infrastructure. Tons of locals will be in here. We saw it as just like a beautiful place to walk and relax, especially in the early morning hours, because recognize that when you first get to Tokyo, if you're coming from somewhere like the US, your body is going to be going through the ringer. You are just going to be tired. You're not going to be able to sleep when you want to sleep. It's important to find those early morning walk spots, and Yoyogi was a perfect spot for us. So you might enjoy that. Another that is just a top spot, especially if you're short on time, is the Shinjuku National Garden. This thing really shouldn't be called a garden. It should be called a park. It is just massive. You do have to pay, but it is well worth it. It's a couple dollars. And again, you can use that Suica card to get yourself in there. It's just beautiful. I mean, you've got greenhouses, you've got ponds, you've got all sorts of different things to go and see and experience. We just saw tons of locals, little kids doing like artwork in the park. Like, it really was just gorgeous. We could have spent an entire day there, and we were just really impressed. We really think this should be towards the top of people's lists in terms of parks or gardens in Tokyo. And one other area that is on plenty of lists, this is by no means a hidden gem, is the Jimboko Booktown. It's an area of town, and really think of it as a street where, gosh, like everything is just a beautiful bookstore. So many bookstores, and as book lovers, like my wife Sarah, she's obsessed with books. It was just magical, like so special to just spend an afternoon walking in and out of different shops, seeing what they all had. Like, it's just really unique, not something that you see in other parts of the world quite to this extent. So if you're a book lover, you got to check it out. It really is unique. But let's talk about some of the areas that you might want to consider basing yourself. And then I'm going to get to some day trip stuff because there's some important things there. But what's most important to know about where to base yourself is that there is no downtown. There is no center part of town. So because of that, I think what's really important to note is that they're really just different pockets, and each pocket is different. And you have to ask yourself, what type of pocket do I want to be spending time in? What's most important to me on your trip? So we'll go over a couple of those pockets, but also note that a really good strategy is find a big metro station that is well connected to others and use that as a base. Think, hey, I could care less where I stay. I want easy access via the metro. That's what I did, and it worked well. So first couple spots, I think most tourists end up thinking, oh, Shibuya is the area. That's where a lot of people advise tourists to go. I totally get that. It's actually where I did stay, was in Shibuya. And it's great because huge metro station, great tourism infrastructure, and you are close to a lot of other things. Another is Shinjuku, and that is a place where you have a lot more nightlife. Think like Times Square, New York-esque, bright, just crazy nightlife. Those are two really big hot spots for tourists. Both are totally fine depending on what you're looking for. If you value nightlife most, Shinjuku is great. If you want access to the nightlife and you still want hecticness, but you don't want quite as much crazy, Shibuya might be the better option. But note that both of those are going to be very hectic, very high energy areas. Nothing wrong with either. You just have to know what to expect. Now, another pocket area of town is Akihabara, and this is really popular. It comes up on everybody's list. If you're super into anime and just overload of information and just like the comic books and the video games and all that stuff, it's a really neat spot. It's just a really unique area of town because I just don't think you're going to find any other city in the world this dedicated to that community. Now, full transparency, that is not my community, so it's not where I would choose to stay. I definitely recommend visiting it, but you don't have to actually stay there. And even when you do go and visit, have the context that the area is, let's say, a bit edgier, grittier compared to other parts of Tokyo. Nothing wrong with that. It is just a spectacle to see and really unique. Just have that context. Now, another area that I might actually consider staying during my next visit is Daikenyama. And this area is probably pretty comfortable for a lot of Westerners. Very clean. It is a bit upscale. You have great access to Shibuya. Everything was just a little bit more peaceful, less hectic. It definitely costs a bit more money, so have that context. But it had a lot of what we were looking for in that local feel, very walkable, but still easy access to other things. So that might be a pocket that you're interested in. Now, I've already mentioned Ginza, and again, nothing wrong with Ginza if you're looking for that modern, upscale, top tier shopping experience. I can't imagine going to another country and seeking that out other than maybe being like a business traveler. So if you're looking for that maximum comfort, like least putting you out of your comfort zone, then sure, Ginza is fine. But to me, it's just not the area, but hey, you do you on that. Another pocket that I kind of have mixed feelings on, so I'll ask locals what their take is Yanaka. And this is just north of Ueno Park. So you are going to have some tourism spill over there. If you're going to be heavy on the museums, which are in Ueno Park, I could see justification for wanting to stay in Yanaka. It's a very old historic area, very old school Tokyo, and it is beautiful, a great place for a late night walk. It probably wouldn't be my first choice only because I know that I don't value Ueno Park in the same way that other tourists might, but that's not to say that it's a bad choice. But again, locals, hopefully they'll chime in and guide us in the right direction there. But the last pocket that I want to tell you about is Karame. It's a really unique area. This one felt really local to me. It felt like kind of a young, hip, artsy area. It wasn't super glamorous. It wasn't crazy expensive. You did still have good restaurants and coffee shops and still great access to other things. It's kind of along the river. I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. I wish I had spent more time there. So it's a place that I'll give a second take when deciding where to stay on my next trip. But what I do want to talk about is some day trips, because a lot of people have questions about day trips in Tokyo. And I'll have just a couple thoughts on Kyoto afterwards. But the first question is, should you day trip? I think the message that I want to send here is that it depends on what you're looking for, but overall I'm going to say no. Tokyo itself is so large. It's so unlike any other city that you've probably been to that, well, yes, you can go and do day trips and experience other things. You're not going to be able to cover even a fraction of Tokyo itself. So to me, I think you're probably better served staying in Tokyo, really giving yourself some time to embrace the culture and just learn about that city, and don't really stress yourself out trying to coordinate day trips. I just didn't feel like I had anywhere near enough time with a couple weeks in Tokyo. So have that context and pick accordingly. So regarding Kyoto, first question is, should you go to Kyoto? The answer is without a doubt, yes. That place is so special. It is beautiful. It is so much of what Tokyo is, and so much that it is not, in such a special way. But one really, really important tip is if you are going to be going from Tokyo to Kyoto on the bullet train, which I highly recommend, make sure to book your ticket on the right side of the train, because if you do, you'll get great views of Mount Fuji on a clear day. And unfortunately, if you're sitting on the left side of the train, you're just going to miss it. So make sure that you're on that right-hand side. And if you are lucky enough to get to go to Kyoto, watch this video right here, because it's filled with all the tips and tricks from Kyoto, because I made plenty of mistakes there as well. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and we'll catch you guys next time.